God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make an announcement. We had an executive session last month that we had for discussion, and we also had an executive session here before the meeting tonight
For legal guidance.
for legal guidance. Take care of change. Roger said he must have a bunch of names on there. Do we have any public comment? Tom, do you have anything to say? Wayne? Kathy?
I'm good.
Okay. Minutes from the last meeting? Any questions on it? Make the motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna switch things a little bit here. We're gonna go with some old business first. We're gonna go with the solar ordinance for the commercial side of it.
Thank you, and if I might, Mr. Chairman, just by way of update, as the board recalls, the Planning Commission recommended, I think at its March meeting, preparation and enactment of an ordinance that would allow for large-scale solar and associated battery operation facilities as a conditional use, and at this point in the I zone only. You guys may study other zones in the future, but for now, to put the ordinance in place, that's what was recommended and drafted. As I explained previously, we modeled the ordinance after some other ordinances that had gone through local experiences in Washington County. It's kind of a 2.0 ordinance. We believe that provides us with a lawful conditional use ordinance and puts something in place for us. And again, other things subject to study. We did schedule a public hearing on that ordinance that will take place and is being advertised for May 28th. In addition, we've submitted to the Washington County Planning Commission, received largely technical and editing comments. The updated drafts reflects those. There are no substantive changes, really just clarification and frankly a couple of typos and edits that they were kind enough to point out for us. So with that, I would recommend that you, if you or so inclined to recommend adoption of the updated draft ordinance.
Now, we can also, could be in the future, if somebody has a farm or something like that that may want to do this, it can be brought back again in front of the board.
Yeah, there would have to be a petition or by your own impetus. I think you guys discussed that, hey, you may want to continue to study, as some of the other municipalities are. There are municipalities that allow them with some limitations that are not in the industrial zone and perhaps in other zones such as in A zone, in the A zones. There are municipalities that I believe are studying, looking at placing them in kind of in an overlay district in certain districts, saying where there's distressed lands that wouldn't be useful for other higher agricultural, etc. purposes, where they're looking at and whatnot. But and you can continue to study that by your own accord, or if somebody from the community or the board would recommend that you look at it, or we adopt provisions that would kind of modify, revise that. But coming out of the gates, the advertised ordinance does have a conditional use, and it has all in the I zone only, and it has all of your recommended provisions regarding the bonding, the decommissioning, the setbacks, and all the other kind of technical requirements that you've requested.
Okay. Any questions? Anybody want to make a motion? I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance as read.
Okay. Is this on both of them?
No, just the one.
Just the one, it's the commercial one.
Okay.
We need a second. Anybody want to
I'll
second?
second it.
Any questions on it? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So, then the second update, this ordinance is a residential, more accessory use, solar, more of a solar panel ordinance for the most part. You looked at this before. This one has not been authorized for advertisement and all that sort of thing yet. You kind of looked at it conceptually a couple of meetings ago. At your request, we actually did submit this ordinance to Fire Chief Lord for review. He found it acceptable, and I can tell you that this ordinance was modeled after one that I worked on up in the North Hills a couple of years ago, where they took the model ordinance from Penn State, but then the fire marshals of the community kind of looked at it from a perspective of a first responder, and they added a lot of stuff to it that has their needs in mind as well. Particularly two things. One, the demarcation clearly of like the shutoffs and all those kind of things that the emergency folks would want to have access to and know where they are. And secondly, there's a lot of panels designed where you look at them, they're stem to stern on a roof. There's no fire breaks. There's no place for folks to get up and do what firefighters do. These ordinances actually, this is almost kind of a code type of an ordinance in some regards, specifications ordinance on these sorts of panels. So with that in mind, if you're so inclined, would recommend that you do a motion recommending that the board authorize us to formally advertise and start the process of reviewing and having a public hearing on that ordinance.
Now, does that require somebody to get a permit before they do this?
Yeah, there is permitting requirements, and then they would have to comply with all that. And it would be, I think, handled through Harold and our code person.
Any questions?
No.
Anybody want to make a motion for the supervisors?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Before we do that, any comment anybody have any comment on that? Tom? Come on now.
You're gonna do what you wanna do anyhow, so why am I saying that? So I'm not saying that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We just make recommendations. It's up to the supervisors, Tom. Okay, we're going to go to Range Resources.
Don't you have to like accept that or whatever?
Excuse me?
You didn't finish that, I don't think.
I didn't finish it.
Did we get it all in favor of?
Yes.
Sorry.
Mhm.
Aye.
Did you?
Motion
You
carried.
said motion carried.
Motion carried. And then this will flip. Very good.
Range Resources.
Ready? You mind if I stand up?
You can do whatever you want to do.
Two words speaking, sitting. My name is Kylie Fuller. I work on the local government team at Range Resources. You might be more familiar with Leah Valentic from our team. She's my counterpart, but she is in Disney World this week, so I will be filling in for her. And then we've got a team of Range guys. We have Pat Berthold from our land department, we have Jordan Rayhar from our water department, and then we have Max Junker from Babs Callan here with us tonight. So I'd just like to begin and let you know what my plan is for the evening. I'll just go through a brief presentation of the tank pad conditional use application that we submitted to the township, and then we can open it up for questions for the team if there's anything that comes up during my presentation. So I'll go ahead and get started. So I'd like to say that the information presented tonight can all be found in the conditional use application that was submitted to the township on April 15th. I know it's on file, and I would like to draw your attention to Exhibit B in particular, where the compliance comments are describing how our application meets all the requirements of the zoning ordinance for the use. The application and background can be found in Exhibit A. This is a conditional use application for the Yonker George tank pad. We believe that the Board of Supervisors should approve this request for a conditional use because the subject property is within the agricultural zoning district where tank pads are permitted as a conditional use. We've obtained the required permits from the PADEP and have met the requirements outlined in section 200-541A of the Mount Pleasant Township zoning ordinance. The tank pad will be located at the existing George Yonker well site, which is an approved well pad and we will be utilizing certified above ground storage tanks to temporarily store and transfer fresh and reused water during completions at nearby well sites. The location of the property and 911 address can be found in Exhibits D and E. The location of the property is owned by Zenith Management. The approved 911 address for the existing Yonker site is 94 Baker Road. The present use of this area is a producing unconventional oil and gas well pad with 6 existing wells, as well as agricultural activities. Site information and background can be found in Exhibits E and F. Just for background of the site, I'm going to go through the timeline of the Yonker well site and how we plan to utilize it in the future. In September of 2016, Mount Pleasant Township granted Range a conditional use application for the Yonker George well site. The well site was constructed by December of 2016. 6 wells were drilled in the beginning of December of 2016 and completed by July of 2017. Since then, Range has applied for and received 3 zoning permits to the existing gravel well pad at the George Yonker well site as a temporary water storage facility for no more than 6 months per calendar year. However, Range has only utilized the temporary zoning permit twice due to an operational schedule change. Range first applied for and used the zoning permit in December of 2020. We then applied for and received the zoning permit for temporary water storage in March of 2023, which we did not use, and finally in January of 2024 to support completions at a nearby well site. Based on Range's planned use of the Yonker well site for the temporary storage and water transfer, the township ordinance classifies this use as both a tank pad and or a temporary water storage facility. Rather than continuing to apply for zoning permits through the township and just to lessen the associated administrative burden on the township, we are coming to the township for a conditional use approval for the tank pad for the option to continue using the site for temporary water storage and transfer of water for operations. This project does not require any grading or construction of an additional gravel well pad. We will be using what's in the area. The well pad and access road have already been constructed, as I said, in accordance and applicable state permits for erosion and sedimentation controls. The existing well site is about approximately 435 by 325 feet in size and accessed by approximately 1,500 feet of an access road. The planned operations can be found in Exhibit E. Tank installation and operation will typically occur 2 times a year for 30 to 60 days per usage. The periodic operational use of the tank pad will be to support development of nearby well pads in Mount Pleasant Township or adjacent townships. During operation of the tank pad, on-site tanks will be used to store and transfer fresh and reused water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These tanks will be filled and emptied by trucks or above-ground pipeline. We plan to store fresh and reused water at the proposed well site in similar manner to how we previously stored on site and utilized those 2 zoning permits I talked about earlier. We plan to use vertical and or horizontal steel tanks and or open top modular tanks for water storage at the site. These tanks are all certified by the PADEP prior to use as a part of our WMGR 123 permit. The open top modular tanks are constructed of a structural steel frame with a reinforced polyethylene liner. Vertical or horizontal tanks are constructed of a structural steel frame and steel wall tank. Support these periodic natural gas completions. Tanks will generally be installed prior to usage and removed after completions are wrapped up. Similar to how we stored the water in the temporary zoning permits, Range plans to use a set of 20 vertical closed-top tanks placed inside a lined containment ring system. Each tank can hold about 14,000 gallons of recycled water for a total volume of 294,000 gallons. A 420,000 gallon open-top modular tank was used and could be also located on the site. The total water storage capacity for the site would be about 714,000 gallons. As always, range plans are subject to change, and we will make sure we stay in contact with the township. And what I'd like to make clear is that this tank setup will be just as we have used in the past with the temporary zoning permits. For installation, timing-wise, modular tanks takes about 4 days to complete, and removal takes about 4 days to complete. If time between the completion phases are short, the tanks may remain on site until we come back, or if there is a longer break in the schedule, we will remove the tanks if needed. Based on our current operational schedule for the development of nearby wells, tank installation and operation is scheduled to occur in late summer or early fall, and our first anticipated usage would be early fall of 2025. The schedule could be affected by weather conditions, availability of equipment, other factors, but Range will provide a 30-day written notice to the township for the use of the tank pad. The driving directions and road information can be found in Exhibit G. The access road to the tank pad is the existing road to the well site, so the driving directions are the exact same as described in Exhibit G. Range will work closely with the township and Fort Cherry school districts to ensure that our traffic will be minimized impact on the township roads and residents in the area. Vehicles accessing the site will be limited to those necessary for construction, operation, and maintenance of the site and tanks. The sound information can be found in Exhibit H. We completed a sound study for the Yonker tank pad, and it was completed in April of 2025. Sound monitoring results indicated that Range will be in compliance with the township noise decibel levels, but as a part of our Sound Mitigation Plus plan, we will be installing a wall on the south side of the pad during active operations, the side that would be facing Baker Road. Safety and security information can be found in Exhibit E. During tank pad operations, Range representatives will supervise all activities on site. The site's PPC plan is in Exhibit J, will also be implemented for this site. Range will provide an orientation for first responders if requested by the township. And additionally, there is a formal training provided by the Commonwealth to first responders who request one. When the tank pad is not in use, it will be secured by a locked gate to prevent any unauthorized entry. Light plants will be on location during active operations, but will be facing inward and downward to minimize any effects on nearby residents. Range will comply with the township performance standards as outlined in section 200-702 in the township zoning ordinance. And Range has provided the township with emergency contact information who can be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether it's from the township side or any residents nearby that have any questions or complaints for us. Now that is the end of all the information that I wanted to present to the group, but we can open it up for questions if you have any additional for our team. Thank you.
On your open top tanks, how do you secure them from people getting in since you don't have an exterior fencing that people can't climb and get in there?
The walls on those tanks are 12 feet tall, and they're only accessible through a stairwell, which will be locked at all times.
So they're 12 foot tall on the tanks?
They are.
One thing that I know there's a lot of complaints before about all the trucks waiting after the school for your, the schools to be out or be in session. And it'd be like 20, sometimes 15, 20 trucks at a time be going down the road. And it really caused a lot of problems for people getting to work, going back and forth, with that many trucks at one time going up there, they couldn't get out of their driveways.
Mm-hmm.
They were, you just had a line of trucks.
Okay.
Is there something you can do to curtail that so people can get to where they have to go because that's a priority versus you getting your water?
Yeah.
Yes, we will deploy some traffic control, basically pilot vehicles that can call out to those trucks.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to have 10, 15 trucks fall on the pilot control guy. You know what I mean? If they're sitting there waiting for the curfew to be over and you've got that many trucks sitting there,
we can release them in small groups.
that would be, I think, would be beneficial.
That's probably the best way to do it. I understand they get backed up waiting for the buses to clear, so we'll make every effort to control that to the best of our ability.
And if I might, let me supplement that question with, similar to how one of the conditions that was in the traffic plan and for the underlying Yonker and well pad itself was kind of coordination on blackout periods during critical bus hours, the use of staging, and then you just suggested
In addition to
kind of a dribbling. I don't know what the word is for it.
We can just
process.
limit the amount of trucks in a convoy.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to say. is
especially
usually-
following this curfew.
Yes.
as part of a road plan that we would arrive at.
And if those curfews are, sometimes if you think they're cutting it a little too close, we've extended some curfews in other townships. If it becomes a problem, if a bus is running late, sometimes we can kind of just see the truck drivers can just see what's going on, or the pilot cars. But we've extended some bus hours too in other townships. And
Well, Fort Chair Road's a terrible road as it is anyhow. I mean, if you've driven on it, it's bumpy as can be. And the state says they're not gonna deal with it because you guys are still using it. Is the excuse that I got, which I don't think is a very good excuse, but
That sounds like a pass the buck.
that's about what it is. And because I've driven a fire truck down there, and it's terrible. I mean, it bounces you around. I do have a question in my own personal look. You guys have put a parking area and a staging area up here at the golf course. Why aren't you using that versus out here?
We haven't had any activities over in this portion.
Well,
of the
you have
township.
used it though. I'm just saying, is you guys got an extended parking area, come in and put a whole big new parking area in for stuff. But now you're gonna go back down there, which I feel this would be much better on 18 for truck traffic versus being on Baker Road and Fort Cherry Road.
Well, a lot of the areas where we pick up our water to bring to that site are located to the west of Mount Pleasant. So we like to utilize Route 18 going into Burgettstown, where we have another large staging pad at Carnes.
At the Carnes, yeah, but I'm just saying but I mean, you put money into down here and you use it for a while and then you're not using it. I mean, I just can't see why you couldn't use that versus Baker Road. I mean, it's just an issue with a lot of the people in the township.
Understand.
Anybody else have any questions?
Like on that open tank, if there's nothing in it and we get one of these crazy swirly winds, could that tank be?
No, they've all had wind studies conducted on them. One thing we do when we erect them initially, we'll put water in them and it'll act as paperweight to secure them in place.
They're made out of steel, they're pretty heavy.
They're very heavy. We'll put ballast in them essentially.
No, you don't have any, Joel?
Mr. Chairman, let me just note for the record, the township engineer could not be here this evening, but they did submit their comment letter dated May 2nd, 2025, summarizing their review of the compliance with the technical requirements. The only note they had was regarding section 200-503D, regarding proof of ingress, egress, and traffic circulation designed to ensure safe access by emergency vehicles and to minimize congestion and the impact on local streets. First of all, Mr. Yonker, did you receive a copy of this?
We did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It was CC to Mrs.
Leah.
Blunt. Yes.
Yeah, she
Okay.
forwarded before hitting the.
And I kind of think that's encompassed in our overall discussion of the traffic plan and traffic coordination. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, it sounded more along the lines of a sort of on pad, just in terms of traffic circulation, coming up the access road, circling through.
On the property, you're
coming
correct,
through.
right.
Yeah, and there are obviously other issues off-site in terms of excess maintenance agreements or just the route that these trucks will be going, as we talked about convoys and others. But at least in terms of the engineer's comment, I mean, this has been used before, at least 2 times. It's the same setup. They're in the same location. We received the approval from DEP based on the traffic circulation that we can get through there. We do have the 6 wellheads. We do have production equipment that is on site that we move around. But and I don't know if we want to go through it, but we can certainly address that in the public hearing with more detail. But in terms of acknowledging the requirement, and I guess in terms of turning radiuses and getting up there, we haven't had issue with any trucks
You're only using Baker, you're only using the Fort Cherry side, right? You're not coming in out of Southview.
Right. So, yeah, the
That's
team
correct.
just-
That is correct.
Because every once in a while you see a stray truck run somewhere that shouldn't be running.
If I might, you noted, I guess you're installing an additional sound wall.
We will be,
The reason for that is what?
So the sound study shows that we are within the decibel limits of the township, but just to make sure that we're not bothering any nearby residents, we will be placing a sound wall on the Baker Road side of the house.
Now, is this just for my kind of
It's just-
education? Is it kind of for, or while you're maybe staging trucks when trucks are in line, or is it just the nature of idling diesel while they're unloading and off-putting and coming in and out of the facility?
Both. They will only have it'll be kind of similar to the tanks. If there's a big break in between completions and the need for the pad, they will take those walls down. So they won't be up forever. But if there's a short break, they will keep the walls up there. And it's also for optics. Sometimes it's just kind of a barrier, and yeah. But we don't expect much sound to be coming off of the site during active operations.
So it doesn't affect the school side at all, the noise?
That's too far, yeah. And we do have, at least in terms of the sound study, showing, and really it's the pumps that are on the site, some of the trucks, but the propagation maps, because we have a little golf course getting all the way up to the school, that it's not anywhere near the requirements. We're about 40 decibels and it's 60.
Now, do you follow that state, I forget the code that they wanted, where you only let it idle for, say, 5 minutes if you're not doing anything? You guys follow that?
Nah, I mean, and I don't think it applies directly to the diesel idling requirements or so, but I don't know, in terms of somebody getting up there, I mean, they're hooking up, they're delivering, it's not like...
Well, I mean, if they're sitting down there waiting for a half hour for curfew to be over, they're running for a half hour, and there's a couple houses down there and stuff like that. I mean, state law is 5 minutes,
Yeah, but there are exceptions. I remember we looked at this years ago with the first Yonker, because that question did come up, and I don't recall what the conclusion was, if it was addressed in the conditions or if there was, exceptions that were in there for certain activities.
I can see if it's weather, if it's cold or something like that, that'd be a different story.
Right.
If
Gotta
it's
keep it
warm,
going.
you don't need that air conditioner, you can shut it off.
Just in terms of staging and things of that nature, where might that occur? For example, you have the inside here where the water's going to, you have the nearby pad that may be in another community nearby or here. Do you anticipate that if there is any staging or, to be done, that would be done at either the starting point or the ending point, or do you have places in between that there may be on an occasion?
We have places all around. One of the places we use most commonly to stage is the Carnes B facility. It's out on 18 as you approach Burgettstown. It's on range-owned property.
What municipality is that?
It's in Smithtown.
Okay.
We prefer to use that because we own it, so we don't have to pay lease money.
Right. Did anybody on the board have any other questions? If I might, I did want to ask a little bit about your narrative indicates that you kind of anticipate using it with the same frequencies as you have under the temporary permits in the past. Can you kind of describe what you could anticipate might be the maximum number of occasions, different occasions on which you might use this in a given year, and what the time frame could be of each occasion?
Sure, it's very schedule dependent, as Kylie indicated earlier. Our first intended use would be September of this year for approximately a 35-day period, at which point we would remove the tanks, sound walls, etc. Frequency, I would estimate 1 to 2 times per year, subject to change. Again, it is all dependent on our frac schedule.
What well site is that?
Is there? Do you have a is there kind of a radius, I guess, more or less, of sites that you know of where you might, where kind of a mile distance on the map where you anticipate, like you mentioned the Smith Township, places where you might anticipate existing wells?
If I were to place a distance on it, I would say anywhere, if you were to draw a 5-mile radius around the Yonker, that is typical.
Would there be one in Chartiers Township?
We do have sites in Chartiers, yes.
And then outside that range, more or less, do you have what you'd have other facilities such as this where you would kind of then utilize?
Yes, we use multiple facilities to source that water to one common place to complete these operations.
That figure you have in there for restoring the road to Bond Road, $12,500, is that the current PennDOT number?
Yeah, that's usually we double it ourselves, but I believe for paved road, it might be 12,500, but range typically is doubled the amount that the state requires. And so you can see a condition of Fort Cherry, maybe they should consider changing it as well.
Mm-hmm. And I believe you indicated, and that road is already, that distance of road is already on your inventory of
Correct.
bond.
We included the most recent EMA that's in here in tab G, and then if you go sort of to the last page of that, there is an exhibit A that has all the roads within Mount Pleasant that we bonded. And you can see, yes, it has the 25,000 number.
Oh, it has the bond on it already?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yep.
I would just say, because our engineer went over that, only has 12,500. I thought that was a little low. But
That's the state.
that's the state's.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything? Anything else, Tom?
No, that's all I had as far as questions.
Well, do we have to vote on this?
If you,
Recommend
yeah,
it to
you
this?
could make a recommendation. It is for public's information scheduled for a public hearing on May 28th before the Board of Supervisors.
Anybody in the audience have anything to say? I'll make a motion to accept, recommend this to the supervisors to look at it for recommendation.
I'll second it.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And as I noted, the public hearing in front of the board will be on May 28th. It's 6 p.m., I believe.
Mr. Andreas.
Would you like me to
Yeah,
update,
you can
summarize
do
the report?
what happened at the hearing.
As folks may know, this matter was before the Planning Commission last month. You discussed potential conditions in advance of the public hearing. The public hearing, and you tabled it largely, I think, for land development matters, application matters. You discussed and did not formulate a formal motion on recommendation of any approval or suggested conditions. We actually, the board is in deliberation, but is because the matter was tabled, it's back before you. Mr. Andreas, I believe, is here to address any questions you may have regarding your kind of some of the conditions that you had discussed.
Did you heard the conditions that we kind of talked about last time,
Yes.
correct? Another question I have is, are you going to be doing maintenance on your equipment and stuff there?
Oh, most of my maintenance equipment, I mean, I will be doing some, but most of my maintenance equipment's out in the field. I'm not bringing my big stuff back.
I mean, you're not changing oils and stuff like that inside your garage in the wintertime and stuff?
In the wintertime,
Yeah.
like during work hours or?
Well, anytime you're doing any maintenance on anything, you know, I mean, if you change the
My
oil on
oil
your trucks or
changes
whatever.
for my big trucks, everything's all hired out the newsstand. I don't do no oil changes. I don't want to know if we use oil down my shop, so the answer is no on that.
Okay.
And yeah, beg your pardon.
I was just wondering if you should maybe look into getting an oil and water separator put in there if you get approval to do this. Just because of, I mean, if you did, you know, you got heavy equipment, you have different types of machines you're working on, you know, if you do change oil, that creek is real close to your property, stuff like that.
Oh,
If oil would get in there or something like that, then, you know, you have a problem.
Be nothing like that. Like all my inspections are they're outsourced inspection stations and all that. I'm not doing no work down there. No chemical wise, they say. I'm not doing no chemical, nothing like that.
Anybody else have anything?
Could you possibly go through the list?
Yeah, I do. I want to give you guys a chance to. The planning commission had talked, and I think there was discussion in front of the public hearing too about that the road that's located on is a 10-ton road.
That's correct.
So you could anticipate that if it is improved, there would be a conditional approval that would preclude excess weight vehicles on that road and in and out of that operation unless you were to enter into an excess weight agreement. Can you speak to your hours of operation? There was
Hours of operation 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. No weekends, unless I'm going down there hanging out with my kids or something like that. Just because I do have personal stuff, my boat's down there and stuff. So we will be down there on the weekends, grab my boats and stuff. That's after hours personal stuff. But employee wise, no one beats down there. Everybody's goes straight to the job site, and I swear to that. We don't conjugate, you know, to an area as, hey, it's time to clock in at 7 o'clock. There's nothing like that. Everybody goes from their house straight to the job site. And it's been like that for a very long time for me. Like this is how I operate my business. Traxel, dump truck driver, she lives in West Virginia. She takes a truck home every day. She gets fuel down in West Virginia. There's no way of getting fuel down there in the mornings, except for my workers. You know, if they need fuel, that might be once a week to get fuel.
What size fuel tanks you can have?
We have a 1,000-gallon fuel tank down there. And it's double walled, it's through Chem Oil. I mean, for secondary containment wise, they're approved. Same thing as the truck. The truck has no reason going there for maintenance and all that. Everything's going through New Stanton, Caterpillar, and New Stanton up there. That's where all my maintenance goes. I don't work on none of those trucks. No desire to.
what kind of vehicles would you be bringing in and out of there?
Pickup trucks, my vans, that's all. And I do have one tractor trailer, which we were talking about. We have to come to some type of agreement for the road bond, of course, Bill, from exiting out for egress and ingress from 519 to driveway only. All traffic will exit right out my driveway and coming in one certain way only. And so, but I'm the truck driver, so there's nobody else.
What's the anticipated frequency of the semi coming in and out of you?
I average
Whether
about,
loaded, unloaded, or what, both?
I put like 500 miles on it a year.
For what purposes do you?
Just moving my equipment from one site to the other site, that's all.
So you keep your tractor and trailer at your garage?
I keep my truck in the shop and trailer sitting outside, that's all.
Just the cab?
Just a cab.
Oh, you don't keep the trailer there?
I probably can if somebody wants to buy a truck. It's in my way right now. I could probably fit the whole thing in there, be no problem, honestly. I would love to do that, honestly. That's why I got the building at 96 feet, so I could park the whole thing in there and just drive it in. And that's the game plan of it. It's designed to do that.
But I mean, you do keep that on site. It's on site, but you're not using it.
I don't use it. Yes, it's parked
It sits
there
there.
now. Yeah.
But it's not part of your normal day
No, not
business
close.
operation?
It's not part of my normal operations whatsoever.
Can you speak to noise and fumes or any kind of that sort of thing?
Noise and fumes, there should be 0 fumes. No matter, I mean, there should be zero fumes. There's no truck idling time down there in the mornings. If I'm gonna be using my truck, it's gonna be one day in and out. You know, I'm not hauling equipment in. I'm leaving, I'm hauling my equipment, I'm coming back in empty again.
You still doing snow removal?
No. No, ain't nobody no more. Doesn't snow.
If you were to re-engage in snow
I'm
removal.
not doing it.
Okay.
I'm
If you
not-
were, just for
I'm not
the
doing it.
minutes,
No.
those vehicles don't.
It rots my trucks out. I ain't doing it no more.
In the hypothetical event that you did start that again, is it fair to say that those vehicles do not exceed?
They're pickup trucks. Yeah.
And of course, your engineer, I believe, is in the process and indicated at the hearing that will address all the engineer's comments on the land development plan and.
Yeah, he did send the
Stormwater.
Did
email out to
he get that
the,
all done before that last meeting, or did he get that all done with?
he got every,
He did. They still have a couple outstanding comments.
he got them in today.
He did. Our engineer has begun their kind of second level review. They did receive some requested details, plan details today.
What about lighting? Are you gonna put
No.
a bunch of outside lights or anything
I
like
don't
that?
want no lights.
And just to note, you do have a row of accessory garage, a pad where you might have accessory storage.
It's proposed on the plan.
And that would be limited to storage of
Storage.
things associated with this business, not a separate
That's
storage
correct, yes.
business. All right. And then finally, I think you wanted to talk about, and there was some discussion about the two things. One, the proposed fence, and two, proposed buffering. Has there been any discussion of any enhancements to the buffering plan since the time of the public hearing?
Yes, there has. We're going to be doing a 6-foot fence down. I don't know if you guys got the drawings or not.
We don't have anything here, Rick.
But
Got bigger
Down
than
the
I
road.
thought we did.
it's down along the frontage of the road and is going down between my shop and
The farm.
no farm, no, not the farm, to that Mary's house, okay, and down towards Mary's house. And the tree buffering will be down Mary's, be green giants, spaced out 15 feet, up the fence line, down the road, and I'm gonna go down towards Steve Antonette's property, down there, which is not proposed on the plan. I'm just doing that because I want to do it. That's all.
Well, the buffering on Mary's staff was.
The upper
right?
side.
The upper
Yeah,
side.
the upper side, yes.
You were proposing to revise your plan to show what? Or what does the plan show now? In terms
Green
of-
giants in a fence,
Spread at a distance of.
15 foot.
Okay. And if you want, the board, we do have a buffer yard, A, B, C, and they talk about it. There was some discussion about 10-foot separation of.
Yeah, we thought about
The
maybe
trees.
a little closer, I thought, didn't we?
However, I think there was some discussion, or you'd like to make some comment about.
You're talking about the buffering of the trees?
Yeah, and the
Like I
types
said,
of trees and the
The
distance
green
between
giant is a
them.
fast growing tree. Everyone's all worried, but this is like an arborvitae, like a small Norway spruce or something like that. It's nothing like this. These trees they grow 3 to 8 feet per year. They're fast growing, they get wide. This is my concern. I know you guys want to do 10 feet. If I do 10 feet, I'm gonna have to go to a different tree.
They'll choke them out.
Exactly. They're gonna die. I don't want to put that investment in there and buy all these trees. We're talking significant amount of trees.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, I'm taking a guess, maybe 75 trees, 100 trees. There's a lot.
Under your current proposed
Yeah,
plan.
I'm taking a guess. I mean, there's a lot of trees.
Now, will the deer eat these?
No. These trees are a very spiny, hard needle. Ain't no deer gonna eat a hard needle. It's gonna hurt their mouths. It'd be like a porcupine. Now, if you get a Fraser fir or something like that, or some of these, everyone thinks it's, you look up green giant, you're gonna see arborvitae in there. And it's a species of the arborvitae. But everyone thinks an arborvitae is the shrub tree that goes into your mulch bed. that everybody sees the bottom of it all eaten out like that. That's not that tree. That's a real soft needle. These deer are hungry. They're going to eat that tree. You're absolutely right. They will eat that tree. But this tree here, no. They're not eating this tree.
What's the name of that tree right now?
Giant arborvitae.
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell arborvitae.
Yeah, green giant.
Green giant.
Just a big, long, pinchy needle.
There was some comment at the public hearing about buffering on the other side of the property, down beside the gentleman who has the pond features.
That is the intent.
Do you want to comment on the existing vegetation and buffering?
Going down between Antonette's and my property, there's probably, I'm taking a guess, 100 feet of wooded woods.
Original woods.
Original woods, and he's asking for more of a buffer. I have no problems putting, spacing 5 to 8 trees going down through there. I have no problems doing that. Not on the plan, but out of,
Right.
I have no problems doing that.
Would it, and you can do that voluntarily if you
Yes.
wish, or if they do it as a condition of approval. Otherwise, I assume it'd be acceptable to you to keep on the plan for us to note that you will have to keep at least 20 feet of the perimeter vegetation there, so it serves the function that it's serving. We're not, you just described that you have about 100 feet of woodland, right?
Yes.
On that side. The condition of approval might be that you are required to keep 20 of it in place. You know what I'm saying? So that you have at least a 20-foot border of buffering on the downside.
Can you get them in without destroying the rest of the original woods there?
Yeah, I'll just go through with my excavator. I'll just auger a hole. Yeah, be no
I
problem.
mean, you don't have to take any more of the existing trees down, right?
No.
And I'm not even talking about a requirement. Again, you may do that if you wish. But if they require it, they would require it. But even with,
yes. Going in between my shop and Mary's, it's still wooded, yes.
Yeah, it's still,
It's still wooded there, so yes, I'm planting in the middle of the woods, yes. So I would have
Is it going to
to,
affect the growth of them trees doing that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
If anything, it's gonna choke the other ones out. So, I don't think it will. I haven't been asked that question before about my experience. I don't think it's gonna do it. Yeah, so to get a straight line through the trees, for the fence and all that stuff, it may be staggered. It might not be a perfect line. You know, it might not hit that extra 15 foot. It might be another tree there. I have to go 20 feet. And I have to work around the tree or zigzag them. But we'll accommodate something going down to the buffer line.
Do you have to improve your driveway at all to get your truck in, or you all right the way it's set up now?
I'm perfect the way it is right now. Yeah, that's actually came out really good.
The apron's all right that you can?
Yeah. Yeah, it's no going off the side of the road or anything like that. It's nice.
yeah, I don't know if anybody else had any questions or.
Buddy in the audience? Well, I think we can just forward this to the supervisors, and when it's going to be their decision, or the other comments we have,
Okay.
give it to them.
And if I'm hearing, it sounds like you would perhaps wish to entertain a recommendation that they would approve it, subject to the following conditions. No excess weight vehicles without an excess weight agreement, hours of operation limited to 7 to 7 per our ordinance, accessory buildings.
Well, he said 7 to 5.
That's his
That's his
practice.
practice.
We do allow under our ordinance more, even for developers generally. Accessory buildings for this use only, compliance with any noise ordinances and other environmental ordinances that we have in terms of malodorous fumes and whatnot. Addressing all the engineer's comments regarding the land development plan and the stormwater plan. The fencing is proposed. with the final plan to depict either trees at the 10-foot length that are of compliant variety, or are you okay with the 15?
Can you get some documentation on that?
On the green giants? Yeah,
If you can submit some support for
I'm
their.
not opposed by putting something else there too.
Well, no, if you feel that that's, I mean,
It's just a fast-growing tree that's going to get big. I'm not opposed by putting something else there. Trust me.
Yeah. If you can show us kind of on a
Yeah,
performance
we
standard
can
level that it
alternate
kind
something,
of.
or, you know,
Are they native to the United States, these trees?
these are the same trees that are in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. Those big pine trees you see in there, that's them. Those are green giants. Those are the same. If you drove right past BP and you see the cemetery, those big pine trees, those were green giants. They're in the cemetery right now, so they've been here a long time.
If that's acceptable, you can make a motion to formally recommend that any approval contain those conditions.
any questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion, and we forward it on for the information.
I'll second it.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Any other comments from the community? Wayne?
I was wondering why there wasn't anybody from Woodland Road here now.
That's surprising nobody else is here.
That don't make sense.
There were folks, as you know, I think Mr. Ruff, you were at the public hearing. Again, this was kind of tabled, so they're back here. They met here before, and I do believe residents were at the planning commission meeting when we first met it. They did speak at the public hearing. We took that into we are taking that into consideration. The reason they're just back here again is because the planning commission tabled them largely for the land development side.
But nobody ever said anything to the people at
We post the agendas for our planning commissions, and last month when those folks were here, it was indicated that the planning commission tabled this and would be revisiting it. And again, all those folks were at the public hearing, and I do believe they all testified and gave comment.
The agenda's on the website of the
And our
township,
agenda is
too.
posted on the website.
okay. Sounds something like what I got into.
That's another topic, Wayne. That's another session.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, anybody? Motion for adjournment? I'll make a motion. Second. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed?